Do you ever get angry about something, that somebody, maybe? Anger is a natural emotion. It's an emotion that God has given us. There are things that can cause us to become irritated, frustrated, angry, mad, even furious. Just like everything else, what God calls us to do is to learn to control it, to control ourselves, to be self-controlled, to control our anger. And James talks about this briefly but significantly in James chapter 1, as we continue on Thursdays to be thinking through what James has to say about various things. James tells us some very important things about our anger and how we should go about things. In James chapter 1, look at me. Can't talk. Look with me at verses 19 and 20. Just a couple verses, quick and easy, straightforward. He says, "So then, my beloved brethren," and notice what he tells us to do. "Let every man be quick to hear," to listen, "slow to speak," act or respond, "slow to wrath," or anger. He tells us, the deal with anger and wrath is we can be quick with it, quick-tempered. We can be quick to anger. We can be quick to act, quick to respond. And James is telling us that's not how we should go about it. We should actually be slow to anger. As a matter of fact, we're told in 1 Corinthians 13 about love, that love is not quick-tempered. We're told in many other passages not to be, quick-tempered. The Proverbs tells us not to be quick-tempered. The thing is this emotion of anger. If we do not have control of it, then we're quick to speak, we're quick to anger, we're quick to act, and to say and do things we shouldn't do. So he says we've got to be we've got to be quick. Here's what we've got to be quick at: quick to hear, quick to listen. And that takes self-control and it takes patience. We've got to be willing and ready and quick to listen, to hear everything out, everybody out, really understand what's going on. Be slow to speak, being careful with our thoughts, careful with our words, in control of what we're doing and saying. We've got to be slow to wrath. And here's why. He goes on to say, verse 20, because the wrath of man, the anger of man, does not produce the righteousness of God. Our anger, if we act in anger and we say and do things we shouldn't do, then that's not producing the righteousness of God in us, he says. The wrath of man does not produce the righteousness of God, but rather we've got to be in control of it. I'm reminded of even what Paul said in Ephesians, that he says, be angry and do not sin. We might be angry, and there might be things that will cause us the anger to stir up in us, but what we got to do is deal with it. We got to control it. We got to get rid of it. We got to go about whatever the situation is in a godly manner. Quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. Be like God, who is slow to wrath. How many times in the Bible does it talk about how God is slow to wrath, how he is patient and steadfast, how he puts up with us? God is slow to anger. We've got to be slow to anger, slow to lash out. Don't lash out. But rather, whatever situation we're in, whatever it is that's frustrating us, whoever it is that's frustrating us, we've got to be in control of ourselves, our mind, our body, our words, our actions. It's something I think most, if not all of us, have to work on and be careful with. I know I do. I'm not always good about this. I'm not always quick to listen. I'm not always slow to speak. It's something I got to work on. It's something we all need to work on so that we are producing. Our goal is to produce the righteousness of God, to live in a way that is pleasing to God. That's what God calls us to. To not allow anger to control us and cause us to say and do things that we shouldn't do. But instead, we've got to learn to be patient, loving, kind, forgiving, and not allow anger to fester in us, to cause bitterness, to cause hatred, to cause jealousy, to cause unkindness, whatever the case may be. So let's work on this. Let's really think about what James is telling us here. Let's look ourselves in the mirror and ask, am I being slow to speak, slow to wrath? Am I being quick to listen? Am I producing the righteousness of God? And if we find where we're struggling in that, then let's study, let's pray, let's work on it every day and get better and better by the grace of God. And thanks be to God for His grace, because we need His grace, we need His patience. But we can do it because God helps us. God instructs us. We can pray. God will help us. So let's do that and produce the righteousness of God in all things. God bless.